Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to take a journey, a deep dive right inside the human body. And we're going to go way past the usual headlines you see about gut bacteria and the microbiome. We're going to try and uncover a much more fundamental force that's shaping our health from the inside out. Let's get right into it. All right, so let's start here. For what feels like the last decade, it's been pretty much impossible to avoid the buzz around the gut microbiome, right? I mean, as this quote from a major scientific review points out, we've linked it to literally everything. From our mood to our metabolism, it's become this central character in how we think about health and disease.
And the story we always hear, it's so simple. It's basically this big battle of good guys versus bad guys inside you. Just cultivate the good bacteria, get rid of the bad, and boom, you've unlocked better health. I mean, that one simple idea has launched this whole billion-dollar industry of probiotics, prebiotics, and all the fermented foods you can think of.
But what happens when we actually put that simple story to the test? The good versus evil narrative. Well, in this section, we're going to look at the hard data. And as you'll see, the results, they're not quite what you'd expect. So let's take a really popular claim, the gut-brain axis. The idea is that if we can improve our gut flora, we should see a direct improvement in our cognitive performance. Makes sense, right? It's a totally logical extension of that simple story. But does the evidence actually back it up?
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. This table shows the results of a massive meta-analysis from 2020. What they did was they pooled all the data from 22 different high-quality trials to get one big final answer. And the conclusion was, well, it was striking. Across the board, all those things we're told to take, probiotics, prebiotics, fermented foods, they showed no significant effect on overall cognitive function for the average healthy person. Suddenly, that simple story starts to fall apart. But hold on, this isn't a dead end. In science, a surprising result like this isn't a failure. It's a clue. It's telling us that we're missing a piece of the puzzle. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, parachuting in new bacteria doesn't work if we're ignoring the world they're landing in. The story is obviously way more complex than we thought.
So if the bacteria themselves aren't the whole story, then what is? Well, that clue points us towards something really powerful, something that's often overlooked, the environment that these microbes actually live in. And that something is what we call gut physiology. This isn't about the microbes, it's about the physical and chemical home they live in. A good way to think about it is like this. If microbes are the seeds, then your gut physiology is the soil, the climate, the terrain. It's what determines what can grow and what just can't. So here's the crucial point. We've been completely obsessed with the seeds, but it turns out the soil might be what matters most. Your gut's internal environment, we're talking its pH levels, its physical shape, the speed at which things move through it, all of that creates a unique ecosystem that actively selects for certain microbes and just plain rejects others. So what exactly makes up this internal environment? Let's break it down and look at one of the most important and also one of the most personal physiological traits of your gut. Let's talk about something called gut transit time. It's really just a simple concept. It's the speed at which food moves through your entire digestive system. But it is not a minor detail. The research shows it's a fundamental driver of what your microbiome looks like, and it varies enormously from one person to the next. The speed of your gut directly changes what your microbes are eating and what they're producing as waste. A 2024 study in Nature Microbiology found that if you have a faster transit time, your microbes tend to ferment more carbohydrates. But a slower transit time, that gives microbes more time to break down proteins, which produces totally different byproducts. It's also linked to higher methane production. So you have two different speeds creating two very, very different microbial worlds. And this slide, this is a brilliant illustration of why so much of the animal research on the microbiome just doesn't apply to us. A mouse is not a tiny person. Its transit time is incredibly fast. Food can hit the colon in about an hour. For humans, it can take 3 to 6 hours just to get through the small intestine. Our anatomy is also fundamentally different, with a much, much longer small intestine compared to our large intestine. We're just built for a completely different digestive process. So what does this all mean? It means your personal transit time, your unique gut pH, your specific anatomy, these things aren't universal. They're as individual as your fingerprint. And that means your gut isn't just some generic container for microbes. It is a highly personalized, one-of-a-kind ecosystem. Okay, so if every single person's gut environment is as unique as a fingerprint, what does that mean for how we should approach gut health?
Well, this whole idea is leading to a massive shift in thinking and to a much more personalized future. What it really means is that the one-size-fits-all approach is just fundamentally flawed. I mean, think about it. If your gut's terrain is completely different from someone else's, why on earth would we expect the same seeds, like a generic probiotic or a specific high-fiber diet, to have the same effect? This totally explains why these things can be life-changing for some people and do absolutely nothing for others. And this is exactly where the future is headed: personalized nutrition. Just look at this fascinating example. Research has shown that a person's baseline ratio of two key bacteria, Prevotella and bacteroids, can actually predict how they'll respond to a high-fiber diet. For people with a low ratio, that same diet tends to lower their cholesterol. But for people with a high ratio, that same diet leads to greater body fat loss. Same intervention, different internal physiology, totally different outcome. Wild, right? So the big takeaway here is that we're shifting our focus. We're moving beyond just trying to change the microbes, and we're starting to understand and work with the unique physiological environment where those microbes have to live and die. It's about tending to the soil, not just scattering more seeds and hoping for the best. Which leaves us with a final, kind of provocative thought. For years, we've all been asking, what should I feed my microbiome? But maybe, just maybe, the much more powerful question is, how is my gut, my own personal ecosystem, actually built to begin with? Answering that question might just be the real key to unlocking personalized health. Thanks so much for joining me.